Today, we're going to be looking at a Google business profile that has twice the review velocity of its competitor, and it still ranks #2 on Google Maps. This is Just Air LLC against Howard Air Service Center down in Phoenix, probably the HVAC capital of the United States, because nobody wants to be hot down there, and it is never less than 95 degrees. Just Air is stacking reviews at double the rate that Howard's Air is, and they're still getting crushed across the entire map pack. People tell me all the time that local SEO is only dependent on review velocity, and just quite frankly, it's not. And in this video, we're going to prove exactly why with the same playbook that generates hundreds of qualified calls for our SEO clients every single month. Neither of these companies is a client of ours, and nobody asked for this audit. Everything here is public information. By the end of this, you'll be able to run the same diagnosis on your own site, whether you're a one-truck operation or a valley-wide juggernaut. And if I had Just Air as a client, I'm going to show you guys exactly how I'd be optimizing their entire setup to start taking down Howard Air. Let's get into it. Next up, let's dive into the review count. And first off, here's the rankings of the profile, so you guys know I'm not trying to pull your leg. We have got the top Howard Air Service Center right here for this profile, sitting around close to about 1,200 reviews. And then the contender, the main candidate of this entire video, is Just Air LLC. These guys are crushing it with review velocity. So let's take a look really quick. First off, with Just Air, we're going to pull up their Google business profile, of course, go over to their reviews, sort by newest, and as you guys can see here, they are just crushing it 17 hours ago, 19 hours ago, 4 days ago, 4 days ago, again, 5 days ago, 5 days ago, 5 days ago. I save you guys all the time in the video. I counted this up before. They're getting about 20 reviews in just the last week. I think I counted all the way to about a week out. So all the way to about, gosh, they've gotten a bunch. All the way to about here, okay? They've gotten about 20 5-star reviews. And then in contrast, we go over to the Howard Air Service profile over here, go to their reviews, of course, sort by newest, we start going down. Looks like they did actually get one as I was planning this video, so about 14 hours ago, 20 hours ago. Anyways, I added these ones up, and you can see it cuts off, oh, we're already out to 2 weeks ago, right? The amount of reviews over here, I think, totaled 9. Maybe it's actually at 10, since the other one came in 14 hours ago here, just the negative 5-star review. So, goes to show, these guys over here with Just Air LLC have twice the review velocity of the main profile, yet their ranking is abysmal compared to these guys, right? And sure, we all know that mainly review velocity plays a factor in SEO, more so as compared to the actual number of reviews that the Google business profile has, but there's more that meets the eye that we're going to dive into right now. So how does a profile with double the review velocity end up ranked below a competitor that's half its pace? The answer lives on their websites, and before we tear into them, there's one thing you need to see first because it explains everything we're about to discuss. You need to understand how Google actually views a page, because Google doesn't see the site that we see it. We see the design, the colors, the layout, the photos, but Google only sees the raw HTML. As the crawler goes through, it's looking for those exact tags, div tags, header tags, h tags, all these forms of titles in the HTML, the actual code on the website. These heading tags are exactly how Google understands the structure. One H1 tag saying what the page is, what we're after for SEO. H2s for each section, and they should be at most about 10 to 12 words. Then you need real content in paragraph tags below each one. And I can show you exactly what that looks like. If I go and inspect the page, this is what Google is actually reading. Keep that 10 to 12 word rule in your head, because in a few minutes, you're going to watch one of these companies break it worse than I've ever seen. And quick pause just for a second. If you're thinking a review count should be carrying you further than it is, it's totally normal. Most sites that I audit on all of our discovery calls have 1 or 2 of these mistakes that we're going to go over in the video, and every single one of them is fixable. It is the same system behind nearly $7 million in SEO leads that we've generated for our clients over the past 4 years. If you want us to run this exact diagnosis on your site, book a call at the first link in the description. Now, back to the video. So starting off here, let's take a look at Howard Air's on-page SEO and why they rank so well. So let's dig into it here. Again, we have one of our SEO tools that can look at the HTML on the site, and we're going to go through and pick out the H1, Phoenix's premier HVAC and plumbing company, and I'm willing to bet that is what's right here. Quick little caveat here on the B-roll behind this. I think I talked about this in either yesterday's video or a video last week. I've seen this work and I haven't seen this work. I think it's kind of a risk because it definitely slows down page speed. It looks really cool, and if you load it correctly and have some kind of image lazily loaded first, and then you can actually lazy load this in the background as the image is kind of holding that spot. It can work sometimes, but take that with a grain of salt. So back to just the on-page, looking through this here, providing comfort and trust since 1977. I like that. Again, we've been talking a lot about like local and legacy type terms on the channel here for the past few videos and how you actually want to have that content woven into your main page. Only gripe here is the location of the service isn't actually in this H2 tag. So let's keep looking through here. We've got some good services. We service valley-wide, not bad. HVAC and plumbing specials, HVAC financing. Scrolling through your contact us today for the HVAC and plumbing needs. Again, I would probably say in the Phoenix area, right? And so let's just kind of look at the HTML, see if there's anything else that's hiding in here. We service valley-wide, contact us today, plumbing needs. We just saw this. Privacy preference center, and that's about it. So if you've been following along the channel, you know that my first gripe with this is there's not many location words in the H2s, right? Now, this site could be optimized. I actually really like their Google banner right here. I think this was in the video that I talked about yesterday too. I really like to see the Google reviews on the page like this. So points for them there, but they are missing quite a bit of the on-page SEO that we've talked about. Side note too, just on the footer down here, I love this footer. It shows all the services. We have all the service area listed, and this is the real cherry on top. We have a Google Business Profile map embedded with an iframe right here, business name, the address, and the phone number for both these locations. Chef's kiss. This, I would not touch anything on this footer. This is a perfectly designed SEO footer, at least from an SEO perspective. I love this. So overall, the HTML on this page is not bad, right? We can look at the title briefly too. Howard Air and Plumbing, HVAC Plumbing Company, Phoenix, Arizona. Not bad. Howard Air Plumbing and Phoenix's premier HVAC and plumbing service. Good. We got some keywords stuffed in there. Overall, not bad. I would give the HTML of this about a 7.5 to 8 out of 10, so it definitely holds its own weight. All right, and in contrast, now we're going to go over Just Air's on-page SEO. This one is a little bit rough. I'll be honest, I have never seen HTML laid out on a page quite like this. And it's not necessarily about the design, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's more so the HTML and the makeup of what's actually on the page that Google is going to be looking at when it crawls the website. So again, we're just going to pull up our little SEO dev tool here. Just grab the HTML out of the page. Let's go over the title and description first before we get too far. Just Air LLC, HVAC services at Phoenix. Love that, right? We have the keyword right there. AC and heating experts. Good. Provides trusted HVAC services in Phoenix. So far, this is looking pretty good, right? And unfortunately, it's all downhill from here. So let's pull up the heading tags just briefly. And if you know anything about SEO, this should be jumping off the page at you right now. This is like the worst nightmare. So we have our H1, which credit where credit's due, we're pretty close. Arizona's trusted HVAC and air conditioning experts since 2006. Not bad, right? We got a little bit of legacy terms. We got obviously the service and the location words in there. So it's Arizona. This page is really optimized towards Arizona. Typically, I would want to tile this back and tie it back to like Phoenix itself, because our Phoenix landing page over here really needs to be about Phoenix. If these guys were totally statewide, I would get it. I wouldn't be too concerned about that. But from all my research, at least, they only have this one location located right here in the heart of Phoenix. So if you actually are trying to target more of the Arizona traffic, I'd keep it that way. Otherwise, I would actually optimize this for Phoenix specifically, okay? So let's start taking a look through here with the other HTML with all the H2 tags. This gets pretty rough pretty quick. This is actually a fine H2 tag. I don't mind this, to be honest. Professional heating and cooling services throughout Phoenix and surrounding communities. It's about the best H2 that we have on page, because it's, again, guys, it goes downhill pretty quick from there. I think what they had is, if I had to guess, I got another dev tool that picks out, oh, I guess it's not working on the site. Usually this picks out the technologies and what the site is actually built on, and I can see what kind of SEO plugins they were using. Earlier when I was going through this website as a preliminary check, I think they had Yoast SEO, and there can be certain bugs with that. So my guess is what happened here is their H2 tags, you can see it picked up when Arizona temperatures rise. Let's see, it picks up our team. So these H2 tags, I think it just accidentally wrapped further, and the H2 got taken all the way through this div block down here, and then it just spammed the H2s, right? As I mentioned earlier, an H2 tag should generally have anywhere from about 10 to 12 words of content in it. Anything more than that, it probably should just be regular content with a P tag down there. And here's the thing, right now, Google sees most of the core content just as heading tags on this page, which is completely incorrect. The content itself actually isn't that bad. Credit where credit's due, it actually sounds pretty good, and it is tailored mostly to the Phoenix area. Arizona's climate places demands on heating and cooling systems. Nearly 2 decades of local experience helping thousands of homeowners is exactly what Google wants to see on page. They just need to structure it correctly with the HTML. Again, you have to remember this rule. Generally, an H2 tag and H1s need about 10 to 12 words at most. If Google comes through and sees a whole bunch of heading tags that look like this, it's going to totally freak out. The H1 and H2s and H3s all need to follow underneath each other. They basically just need to cascade through. Again, one H1 per page, you could have more H2s per page, and really there's no limit on H3s, typically. Without that structure, you're not going to rank for anything. Google just sees a whole bunch of spammed H2s, which it doesn't like at all. Let's just take a minute to scroll through the rest of the on page for the home page here. I'm going to nitpick at the design in a little bit. If you guys have been watching the videos too, you know I'm going to gripe about this. For Google reviews, I prefer to see them a different way. We've seen better results with that. They do have FAQs. I'm not seeing the word Phoenix mentioned unless I'm missing it here. Maybe we have Arizona. Nope, no kind of location keywords. Credit where credit's due, we do have a contact form down here in the bottom, which makes me pretty happy. You guys know that I love to see contact forms up here in the hero section. And I am curious, I looked at this earlier in the audit. I want to see if this H1, H2 problem actually extends to the rest of the website, and unfortunately it does. So you can see here, we've got air conditioning service, Arizona. Again, I'd probably want that to say Phoenix. And then the H2s, we got the same exact problem. Look at this, guys. It's just a wall of H2s. And Google comes by and sees this, and all it sees is headings. Imagine if you wrote an essay only in titles. There's no actual content for it to really chew through and for Google to see exactly what the page is about. Yes, it does still read the H2s, but it's not standard practice, and it's not what we're actually looking for when we want to try and rank in the Google algorithm. You can see here on this page over 111 H2 tags for this one, and it covers probably every piece of content on this page. It's probably a pretty easy fix. I would imagine that a plugin just went rogue, and it wouldn't be too hard to edit for these guys. If I were these guys, I would fix this like today. Again, just there, if you're watching this, call me up and I'll fix it for you today. All right, back to the home pages for a second. So I wonder how many H2s they actually did have on this page. Sure enough, okay. These 88 H2s are just really the tip of the iceberg for these guys, okay? Because that's actually stacked on top of a second problem that we've been talking about. And I see this constantly on single location companies. It's all about scope, and it's worth slowing down for just a minute and talking about this. Local SEO is all about staying locally relevant. If your company actually services statewide, totally fine. You adapt the strategy. The homepage can talk about the broader state, but the service and location pages underneath need to be scoped to the actual city. That's the structure that Google wants and is familiar with. The broad page up top, city-specific pages below, each talking about the services in that city specifically. One location in Phoenix means Phoenix is the main keyword. And as we've seen on this page, Just Air is targeting Arizona everywhere. Air conditioning service Arizona, complete HVAC solutions for Arizona homes. These guys have got to be targeting Phoenix. Their landing page is the home page, and it talks about Arizona as a whole. It should be going into much more locally specific content on the page, talking about the Phoenix relevant services, jobs, reviews, projects, everything they've actually done in the Phoenix area, not Arizona specifically statewide. HVAC services near you. Okay, scrolling down here just for a second, and they have right here HVAC services near you in Arizona. I love it. This is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. The only problem is I can't click to any one of these pages. They need individual location area pages to show they actually service these areas around Phoenix. None of these buttons are clickable right now. There's nothing on the page that actually is relevant to Phoenix itself for all these locations and services. I want to see these linked to real service pages, the same internal linking that we watched Kelly run in yesterday's video. So scrolling on through here and looking at the reviews, you guys know that I'm probably going to bring this up. I love seeing that they actually have the Google icon here for authenticity for their reviews. I really prefer carousels though. And I think these guys did it pretty well over here if I'm not mistaken. This is perfect. This is just a standard WordPress plugin that actually connects to the Google API, pulls in the recent reviews, and shows them on the website. I prefer this any day over this review over here. And the review isn't bad, you know. Jeffrey Taylor, I'm sure, got some great service. But this doesn't look nearly as authentic, and it's not being actually pulled directly from the Google Business Profile, which we lose continuity on. As we go on further, obviously the FAQs don't have any kind of Phoenix wording. HVAC repairs, but worried about the cost. You could talk about financing solutions in the Phoenix area and the Greater Valley area. That'd be pretty helpful. And then down here too, so this is where they really missed. I wish this B-roll video was on autoplay. a great little, video or a message from the owner talking to some happy clients, some past jobs, walking around a job site. Those convert extremely well right now for landing pages, and they help boost the conversion rates quite a bit. They credit where credit's due. Again, they do have this contact form down here, which I'm pretty happy with. So overall, I'd like to see more Phoenix type wording on this page to actually make sure that it's converting correctly and showing Google to actually service the area. Overall, a little rough. All right, so two more things I want to go over for Just Air on their on-page SEO. So two things really quick. One is, and if you guys were watching yesterday's video, you probably know where I'm going with this. There is no contact form up here in the hero section, okay? This is like your main lead magnet source. When people actually hit your landing page, this is where they're coming in first. And if you're not actually grabbing those leads when they're the warmest, when they're still coming off your Google Business profile and still fresh in the profile, they haven't been clicking around for a while, you want to try and grab those leads as fast as possible. They're interested in the service, they made it to your landing page, grab that lead. Just a really, really simple form, grabbing their name, number, address, and a quick service, maybe even a message, which is optional, and then send it off, right? You need those contact forms up front on your landing pages to make sure you're actually capturing those leads as soon as they come in. My second gripe with this page, obviously, is design. And I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings here, but these guys do need to improve it a little bit. So in design, there's a concept called white space. So white space is when you actually purposefully don't put some content on the page. Otherwise, it looks a little bit jumbled like this. No one wants to read a giant block of text like this. I'd rather see it broken out into some bullet points, easier font to read. This is pretty small. I imagine this is too small for mobile, but I'm not sure. I'd have to check that later on. But really, I just want to see this broken up into more bullet points. I like this, probably too many bullet points. I probably would have brought this out and made them larger into two sections here. Nice icons, these aren't too bad. This is a little bit small. You really need some kind of hierarchy, so make sure the titles are much bigger, and then the H2s below, provided you don't have too many of them, the H2s below should be a little bit smaller, and then you should have paragraph content below that that's even smaller, more readable paragraph style text. So overall, yeah, their design's a little bit cluttered. The FAQs, I don't like how these cards are all duplicated too. I would imagine this page probably does not convert at the best, and just a simple little redesign would really help them. One more aspect that I really want to touch on with you guys just briefly is the F-style design pattern, okay? This is so important to understand when you're designing websites. Basically, this is a heat map that somebody had done this huge research on and found that people's eyes usually gravitate towards this kind of style on the page. So if you know anything about web design, you've looked at a lot of landing pages, you can begin to see exactly how this works out. You've got your H1 here, you got your H2, some bullets right here, and usually you want a contact button right here. Call now, right? And that's going to make it a lot easier for the user to actually come in, engage in the website, click through, and actually contact you guys. You want to try and eliminate the friction. Over here, okay, we do have the schedule an HVAC service online. I'd probably switch the call to where the call button's over here, but I'm just nitpicking. But I think, like, honestly, my eye gravitates towards about here. I see maybe this much. Not reading this if I'm in a pinch, which no one's coming on the site just to use their leisurely time to scroll around on. And then I'm probably looking about here. And that's about it, right? For F-style design patterns, it doesn't just apply to the actual home hero section. It applies to all kinds of sections. You can apply these to all kinds of different sections and cards and modals throughout the site to make sure your site is converting and looks just a lot more pleasing to the eyes. Now, is this going to fix all the SEO on page? No, and honestly, it might help with bounce rate a little bit, which can actually improve the SEO. But just by fixing some of these design patterns is just one more feather in your cap to try and fix pages that look like this to get them ranking better for SEO. So the design and the on-page SEO for Just Air LLC is a little bit trashed, but let's look at the reviews one more time. And so many business owners come to me on all of our discovery calls and say, well, I get enough reviews, so shouldn't that be enough? This video just proves that it's not. These guys, again, have double the review velocity of their competitors. Look at this. They have 5-star reviews coming in left and right, and yet they can't even scratch the surface. These guys should be doing so much better than they actually are. And my guess is a lot of it has to do with the on-page. Howard Air, with nearly half the review velocity, is just dominating this. Look at this, guys. They're still getting reviews, sure, but it's at half the speed that their main competitor, Just Air, is in this specific region. It just goes to show that on-page SEO in 2026 isn't dead, and it's still relevant despite having great review velocity on your profiles. You still need to be hitting the basics. Great review velocity, and these guys still fell down. So run the heading audit on your own site today. Right-click, inspect, and just count your H2s. It takes maybe 5 minutes. If you want me to run this entire audit and diagnosis on your site instead, book a call at the first link in the description. And if you missed yesterday's landing page teardown with the 6-point checklist, it's linked below. Those two videos together cover the whole on-page side. Talk soon.